So, my friends, I gave you a small card, a 4" by 4" square card. You're going to need that card to make a tracer. And with that tracer, we're going to trace that on a piece of paper 4 times. And we're going to make this. This is, sorry, that will get cut off later. We're going to be making this very cool abstract design using only 2 colors, complementary colors, which are opposite colors on the color wheel. As far as materials, you can use whatever materials you like. You can use markers, you can use crayons, you can use colored pencils. I used both marker and colored pencil on mine, and you can use different shades of the same color. So if you decide to use green and red as your colors, you can use light green and dark green together. You can use red and pink. You can use any value of that color in your drawing as long as they're opposites. So the things that I'm going to be looking for in this, number 1, that you have your tracer cut correctly and you've traced it correctly. Number 2, I'm going to be looking for, did you use complementary colors? And number 3, were you being thoughtful and neat in your artwork? Did you take your time? Were you trying to be neat, or did you just slap something on the paper? Those are the 3 things that I will be grading this on. Please feel free to go back and watch parts of this video as often as you need to. Some of this is tricky, I'm not going to lie. It is not easy, but it is a challenge that I know that you are absolutely ready for. So let's get started.
So you should have this square of paper, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw a couple of lines that go in this side and out that side. They can be squiggly, they can be jagged, they can be fancy, or they can be simple. The rule is every line that goes in on this side has to come out. Okay, and we're going to cut this part away. This part gets cut and thrown away. Now you'll notice when I cut, I don't really move my scissors. I mean, I open and close them, but I don't try to follow the line that I'm trying to cut. I put the line in the path of the scissors. Let me cut that out. That's trash, I don't need it. I'm trying to be as neat as I can. I'm gonna cut through this whole thing. There, this is trash. I'm gonna throw that away. I don't need it. This is important because if you have to make some cuts to throw stuff out, you know what I'm gonna do? No, I'll fix that when I get there. Let me cut this one. This one's very close to this one, so I'm gonna actually make a little adjustment there. So when I cut, I move my paper to meet my scissors. Because if I try to move my scissors like this, yes, it's possible, but it's a lot harder and it causes a lot more stress on your wrist. It's just a lot easier for me to just keep this hand here and to just turn this paper where it needs to go. Just gently turn it, move it this way, and just keep turning it. The more you do this, the better you will become. Again, that's trash, I'm gonna throw that away. This one here, the simple one, I'm gonna just make it a little shorter when I go to cut it because I don't wanna have this space be too thin. There, almost done. Now your shapes don't have to be anything, they don't have to represent anything. They can just be lines that you like. See, this is a tricky spot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around here. Now I have to be careful and remember what is trash and what isn't trash. This here is trash. So I can cut this out. Throw that away. Just be really careful and really thoughtful with your cutting. This is trash, I can throw that away. Yeah, I made myself a super complicated shape, so now I have to live with it. And this is one of those things that sometimes you make a decision and you're like, oh, why did I make that so much harder for myself? Oh, here we go. Oh, here we are. So this is my shape, okay? You can still see where the original square was, okay? And that's important because the next step for us is going to be take that paper, take this tracer that we made, because really that's what this is now. That's why you got cardstock. We're going to put this down. You can do this with pencil. Let me make sure you can see. I'm going to do it with the pen so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting it right in the corner. See, right in the corner, right in the corner, right up against the edge. And now I'm going to trace all these shapes. And I'm going to be super careful. Super careful. I'm going to take my time. Oops. And you know sometimes you get lines on your tracer and that's okay. Because the tracer is not the finished piece. So if your tracer gets funky lines on it, that's okay. Just be really careful when you're tracing. Now I don't see any advantage to straight lines versus curved lines. Neither is better or easier than the other. And you notice while I trace, I keep moving my fingers around to hold it down, because I want to make sure I hold it down really nicely so that my tracing comes out nice. Okay, so we're going to do this 4 times, but there's a certain way that I want you to do it. I've traced this here. If we look, there it is. Now, instead of moving it over here, I don't want to do that. I don't want to move it over. I want to flip it. Like that. Okay? Like a book. I want to turn it over like it was a book. If you need to rewind this and watch it 100 times, do what you got to do to figure out what's going on. Because sometimes the stuff that I do, you got to think. Gotta use your brain, because you got one in there. I swear it works. If I didn't think you could do this, I would not be assigning it to you. So I'm taking my time. I'm going very carefully. And as I move along, I'm moving my fingers to help me hold this down. I'm hoping that the tracer you got is a slightly different color paper than the paper you're using. Makes it easier to see what you're doing. Okay. So that's my second time around. Now, I traced this way, and I traced this way. Now I'm going to flip this over here, like I did before. I'm not sliding it over, I'm flipping it over. And I'm going to trace again. Okay, so now I've traced it 3 times. So now this is the 4th one. And just like I did before, I'm going to flip this over. One last time, and I want to try to make sure it meets in the corner. There should be a corner. the center area. Now remember to still go slow, take your time, don't try to rush anything. Okay, you don't get any extra credit points for being done first. Okay, so now if I take this and I flip it back to the beginning, it should be exactly in the same spot, if I've done it right. So I should have opposites, opposite here. See how it's mirror imaged, but it's mirror imaged 4 times. Okay, make sure the tracing part, watch this part of the video, watch it 8 times if you need to. Watch it, rewind it, double check. Make sure that when you're doing this, and you're doing the trace, the first trace to the second, make sure that you are flipping it over, like turning the page in a book. Flipping it over, okay? Not spinning it, not flipping it and turning it. You gotta flip it like right on that edge, like you were turning pages in a book. And then that's what you should have, okay? And if you've done that correctly, you should have a very cool shape. And I want to use a ruler and make this square, like actually turn it into a square. Oops, that didn't work out. Yeah, sometimes that happens. And then we're just gonna meet the corner to corner. This corner to that corner. There. So this is my space. This is extra. I'm gonna get rid of that. So we have an inside shape and a bunch of outside shapes. We're gonna choose complementary colors. The video that we watched talks about complementary colors, colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel.